Ladies and gentlemen, day 5. Obviously going a little bit slower than expected, but that's just the name of the game when you have to wait for stuff to dry. It is a sunny-ish day now, but we're going to get rain in a couple hours, so it just takes a little bit of time to dry. So I did this yesterday evening. Obviously we saw the second half of the ceiling. I can tell it's still wet because of the coloring, but the first layer is now completely dry, so we're looking good there. So I'm gonna do the third coat on the screws. I'm gonna tidy up some of the tape bands. We're gonna look it over. We're probably not gonna sand anything until I sand it all at one time, one go around. We're gonna fix a few little air bubbles over here in the corner that I did show you as well. I already fixed these ones over here. I'll probably wait for the ceiling. Tomorrow's Sunday. I don't work on Sundays. Day of rest, Sabbath, church. I've already mentioned that unless this is in the next video. And so tomorrow, Sunday, is the day of rest. So I don't think I'm going to tackle the first portion because then the ceiling is just going to be uneven. I think I'm going to let it completely dry all today, all tomorrow, come back Monday for the second go, or knock down the ridges and then the second skim coat for the ceiling. By Monday, everything else should be ready to go as well. So by Monday, all the drywalling should be done. Ceiling might need an additional day, so that might finish up on Tuesday. This is an eyesore. We're going to address that like I already mentioned. Other than that, we have not gone to Lowe's. Tomorrow I do go to Lowe's. I do go into town, so it is what it is. I'm just going to get some other work done today. Electrical, some kitchen work. So again, that's just kind of the name of the game. It goes a little bit slower, waiting on the drying. The only thing else I can really do, some drywall, trim work, corner beads, but that means I have to go to the store. Motivation for going all the way into Lowe's, hour shopping, hour round trip, it's kind of hard. I'm going to be there tomorrow. I'll go after, hopefully play some good pickleball tomorrow. And then go to Lowe's. I take my phone and I write down my list, and I always get extra, especially if I'm going to be using it in a different project. And we need to get 5/8 inch drywall as well. This is 1/2 inch laying on top of 1/4 inch, but I'm not going to double it up. I'm only going to go 5/8 for the rest of the living room, so I need to pick up some of that as well. I guess other than that, we could probably paint, if this is even in your shot right now, we could maybe paint the furnace door. That's something we could do, but I got enough work to last me the day, so we'll poke around. We'll get it done. On a side note, yep, I hear you, my friend. I hear you. And no, my room is not normally this messy. Laundry, yeah, that needs to be put away. Dog on the floor, that's my brother's puppy. Loving the beautiful golden hour light coming in. Beautiful master bedroom window that I installed there. Bed's looking a little messy due to the dogs. There's my mudroom lamp light. Surfboard, what's that doing there? Dog bed, you guys get the idea, but look at that slat wall. LED custom slat wall, matching accent wall. Come on now, come on, your boy knows what's going on here. Nice little Costco olive tree. Forgive the clutter up here sometimes, life of a tech DIY YouTuber, sometimes we get a little bit messy. I gotta shuffle the house around to accommodate the remodel. It has to go somewhere. Check that out. I can see the city lights from my bed. It's pretty cool. Anywho, what am I doing? Oh, I'm grabbing the tripod. Well, I think we're on day 6, day 5. Can't remember. Yesterday was Sunday, day of rest, church. Now we have ourselves a beautiful, dry, completely dry all the way around. Everything is looking absolutely fantastic. 3 coats on the screw holes. Everything is looking good. Ready to sand those, but I'll wait to sand everything together. We'll, of course, be shutting bedroom doors, making sure the dogs are out of the house, putting on my respirator while I do that sanding. But good news is, I need to bring you over this direction. And we're working on our edge piece here. So this is still considered the mudroom, everything from this area behind us. So we picked up our cabinets yesterday, which is absolutely fantastic. And those, of course, are going to go there. But I just sanded this right here. And you got to get a little creative because I've doubled up my drywall. Again, this is the original drywall. And I put a 1/2 inch on top of this one. This one is not a 1/2 inch. I think it's 1/4 or maybe a little bit more than that. Anywho, so for your corner bead option, options. You have a couple options. A, you can go with a traditional 1.25" corner bead that typically everyone uses, and you could plug that in right there, but notice how much wood we're going to be covering up, because obviously you do need to nail it in that direction. And then because the nails, the coat of drywall mud would be a little thick. Let me show you what I did do, but without corner beads. Or I should say corner bead, but it ended a lot earlier, and this is what I'm going for right here. This was already beautifully done. I didn't even sand that, just almost like live edge interior closet, and it just absolutely worked out stunningly on both sides too. I still need to put my bottom trim piece down there. That's why it looks a little bit nicer like this here. But that's the motif I'm going for. And of course I use the 1.25" corner bead on that, as well as all the way around the master bedroom window. But in this case, so you can go with that option. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna go with. Or there it is. They sell 1/2 inch, meaning that it perfectly lines up over a 1/2 inch. And then you nail in with drywall nails on this side here and cover that up. Obviously you cover that up with drywall mud, or you could leave that and paint that, or leave it silver looking, whatever you want to do. But as you notice, I'm still not covered up under here as well. Don't want any cracking, chipping, and all that nonsense. So what I went with instead, and they don't make one like that large enough to lip over the entire thing. So I went with, I've already cut it down, this option. This is 1 inch, just the corner is metal. And then you have paper here. Now you could cut back that paper if you really wanted to, but because there's going to be a seam right here, I'm going to go ahead and about 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch out past this paper, I'm going to laser level that and put painter's tape. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and mud that on. Again, you do not nail this. You just mud this on for a nice seam there, because what we don't want is we don't want crackage underneath this. I was thinking about, oh, I could just cut that paper back until it's right about here. But I mean, could that work? Yes. And obviously this would still be a tight corner. I would just cut that back to right here and then mud that. I mean, potentially is an option. And then that way you have a full piece of wood. That might work. So let me ponder on that one. Okay, so I'm going to be running that on this side as well as this side when we get to the kitchen. And then I sanded this down, and then we're going to go ahead, because instead of using trim on this, I kind of just wanted that natural wood look. And I've sanded it down. I've sanded off any decals stamped on there for the wood. I still need to sand a little bit more at the top and do some wood filler in on areas like that, areas like this here, etc. And then we'll resand it down. And it's just a nice little kind of natural wood look as we flow into the mudroom. And then you look at the natural look of the master bedroom. And then, of course, on the custom door right there as well. So working on that. We're going to mud that on this evening because Lowe's took a super long time. I didn't go yesterday, which I should have gone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back to the video, but I do want to thank today's sponsor, which is Manscaped. They have just come out with their Lawnmower 5.0, and this is the Platinum Package 5.0 Ultra. What you get is beautifulness all in one beautiful bundle right here. Let's start on this side here. They give you a body buffer right here. This is really nice. I have one in my shower right now. You put your body wash on there and you scrub away. That is included. You also get deodorant, which I also use. You get their body wash and you get their shampoo and conditioner 2-in-1 as well. Again, I use their body wash every shower. I use their deodorant. I use their body buffer. These are products that I use. Depends on when you're watching this. This is a great gift idea, and I'm actually going to be re-gifting this to someone in the friends and family circle. So, after all we just saw, of course, because this is the Platinum Package 5.0 Ultra, you get yourself, let's go ahead and start over here. You get your crop soother. You get right here your crop preserver. You get your Weed Whacker 2.0. This is an ear and nose hair trimmer. I actually just used mine today, a matter of fact. They were getting a little bit long, TMI, but that's what it is used for. You got your little brochure right here. And of course, your brand spanking new Lawnmower 5.0. I have a full review video on this already on the channel. And what makes this one different is, again, this is the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra trimmer. You get your very short hair accessory for the top of your Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. We're not done quite yet, ladies and gentlemen. Underneath, you have your provided travel bag, great for your overnight trips. You got your charger for both the Weed Whacker and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, as well as your accessories, trimming guides in here as well. We are still not done quite yet. You also have some literature, and they also do give you a cool little like newspaper. You could put that down for your first use, trim up, and then chuck that in the trash after you're done. But they also give you a pair of their brand new Boxers 2.0, which I have many pairs of these already. Super soft premium boxers. These are in the black color right here, and these are a size too big, or I take these out of the package and keep them and then re-gift the rest, but those are size large, and so I'll go ahead and gift these out as well. You're like, Chris, that's a pretty sweet little package deal. I totally agree with you. If you want to get 20% off and free shipping on this package or any other packages, or you can buy these things solo if you want. If you want to get 20% off and free shipping, top link in the description box below will be my direct link. Use that link. You're going to head over to their website, and the 20% off and free shipping will automatically be applied with that link. Grab your gifts, grab it for yourself. They're great products. They do a great job. You'll thoroughly enjoy them. Thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back to the project. Day 7, day 6, day 7. It's all kind of tying together. Last night, 11:30 p.m., finished skim coat number 2 on the ceiling. It's shaping up really nicely. Obviously not perfect, still need to sand it. Still need to sand this. Yesterday, kind of lagged a little bit. Today, I definitely kind of lagged a little bit. It's already like halfway into the day. I'm gonna get some sanding done. This is gonna be respirator. It's a really hot day. It's like 87 degrees right now, so I'm just gonna let it get on my skin. But typically what I would do is I'd put a hoodie on. I'm gonna have eye protection. I'm gonna have a respirator. Always linked in the description box below. I might put on some long sleeves. It doesn't really irritate my skin, but you just don't want to breathe it in. Doors and windows are open for the dogs. And I'm gonna close the door so drywall dust doesn't get into the rooms or the bathroom. Depends what time of year this is. If your furnace is going, if it's winter time, you definitely might want to put a covering, but obviously give a little bit of ventilation to your furnace door so the filter doesn't get all clogged up with drywall dust. Totally up to you. It's being long and loud, but you could run a shop vac as you're just going around. You know, I've done that before. I have earmuffs on, holding a shop vac hose, sanding so it drops down. A majority of it just goes straight into the shop vac. Totally up to you. With that said, again, it's just mudding and taping. It's one of those things. Oh, by the way, and last night I taped all around the edges. Down here, I put on the trim here and the drywall here. So everything is taped. The top ceiling edges need to get one more coat. Everything else should be spick and span, looking really crispy. I'm gonna go ahead and probably sand first. And then before you do mud the upper portion one more time for the second coat, just make sure there's no dust on it. Just, wipe it off with your hand, something like that. We're definitely getting close to drywall priming, which is a must. So you can't just lay on fresh paint over your bare drywall. We have to use drywall primer and sealer. One nice, beautiful coat of that, and then you can put on your Benjamin Moore Simply White color. Looking forward to that. By the way, I just ordered my new TV for my entertainment center today. Definitely want to subscribe to that. What's nice about remodeling your home is design decisions. I have something in my mind, and then what I do, let me give you a sneak peek. We're on a wide angle lens shot, and it's really messy and dirty over there, but let me give you a little, well, you can't really see. But, so what I did is I went over, let me there we go. That shot you can see a little bit better. You can see the outlines of my lines around here. So what I did is I measured out a 65-inch television and I measured out a 75-inch television. I decided to go with the 75-inch television. And then down here, I was going to do something right through this area here, obviously getting rid of this nasty trim and all that good stuff. But then my design decision kicked back into play. I'm going to wipe that and we're going to go with something else below with some decorative. You got to stay tuned for that one. So like I always say, clean your safety glasses. Looking absolutely fantastic. We're going to put on a podcast. We got to get to work. Daylight's wasted. All right, I want to show you a little tip about drywall. So what I do is as I'm going around sanding, I'm coming across spots in the walls that I definitely need to fix. And to be honest with you, sometimes you do find discrepancies in the drywall tape even after a second coat. So what I do is I should have marked that one a little bit better. I put a little star symbol here with an arrow, because what's going to happen is if you go to mark it back over, what typically sometimes happens is you'll cover up if you get too close with like a little symbol. I have one down here, and these are not big discrepancies. It's just like a not perfect line that I want to go ahead and fill in a little bit better if you are a little bit of a perfectionist. Okay, I got another one up here, and then let me show you. I have a little bit of a screw hole poking through. Sanded that one too much, so be careful how much you do sand. And then unfortunately, right through this general area, I had a lot of discrepancies. And again, the mudroom, this is going to be covered up, but it is what it is. If I'm getting out the mud and the hawk and 4-inch knife again, you might as well don't put in the half the work. Don't put in 50%, put in 100%. That way you do a good job and you know it's solid. And then I'll make like small notes, light sand. So I'll put like just a little skim coat on top of that, and then just like a light sand like that tomorrow. Same with this one right here. And then the edges, corners, all these corners up here still need one more coat for 2 coats total. So that one was an air bubble from last night, unfortunately. So not too bad out of all the edges. I did catch an air bubble in that one. And it wasn't so much of an air bubble. It's like when you went to sand it, something didn't feel right, and then I touched it, and I realized the tape kind of bounces like that, and that's what you don't want. So you just cut it out and then fill it in with a little Band-Aid piece of tape, mud back over it. Of course, mud underneath it first, slap it on, get the air out, put some more mud on top of that. Again, I have full techniques in my other video, how to mud and drywall for beginners. Just a little tip for you here, y'all, in this video. Also, what I think I'm gonna do for the ceiling portion is I'm gonna get some plastic and I'm gonna hang it from this area here, drop it straight down. I don't want any drywall dust. If a breeze picks up and you're sanding, it's just gonna blow it into the kitchen. Don't want the dogs getting into it. Closed doors, definitely a must, and I did lay a tarp over my tankless water heater as well. And I do have a special sanding machine for the ceiling, which does suck up a little bit of the dust, but not much, but it does work a little bit. And I was using this sander over here on this, finishing up this post, and then we'll put the corner beads on as well. Okay, so I actually changed from the paper one to an actual 1 1/4 metal. So this is what I had on there, but unfortunately, it's either due to the weather or just my technique. I was getting too many air bubbles in this particular one, so I decided to scratch it. And instead of peeling up and getting cracking down the road later on, I just tore the whole thing off, threw it in the trash, unfortunately. Switched over to a regular quarter round, and these things hold in place. I've never had an issue with this. You, again, need to use drywall specialty nails, and these are just 1.5 inches. And this is what they look like, super flat nail heads. And what I do is I go on each side about every foot or so, all the way up, nailing it in, applying a nice run of mud over the edge, and then we'll go ahead and knock down the high spots. We'll do it again, because what we want obviously is not this high spot right here, as you can see, but we'll knock that down. But we want to get all the metal covered, and then we'll sand it down. Then obviously primer and paint will cover up any discrepancies if it's not 100% perfect and you can see a little bit of metal edge, that is, but you want to get a nice coat so nothing shows, nothing chips off the metal later down the road. Other than that, we'll sand it. We still need to sand these corners as well. Everything is looking good over there. I have my notes, of course, light sanding. Everything is looking absolutely fantastic. Definitely slower than expected, but it's wrapping up. Again, just listen to some good music, podcast, like I keep saying over and over again, and time to throw the puppy the frisbee. Okay, let's look at the machine I'm using for sanding the ceiling. Definitely 3M mask. I keep saying that, but protect your lungs. I have eye protection on as well, and you're gonna get really dusty, as you can see. So obviously the mask covers my face. Eye protection I've already wiped off. If you can, it's 85 degrees today. Wear a hoodie and long sleeves. But I've put a little bit of plastic here. It's not perfect, but hopefully this will help not go too much into the living room, etc. I do have some windows open for some fresh air as well. Bedroom, bathroom door are closed. Tankless water heater is covered up. And let me go ahead and show you what we got here. So this was a product review. A company sent this out. I have a full tutorial on the channel about how to use that. Has a LED light. Let's go ahead and whip it over. It's a pretty cool machine. So here's the LED light all around, so you actually can see what the ceiling, what is up on the ceiling. And then big sanding pads it comes with. This is 220 or 240. Very fine sandpaper, and then a brush as well so you don't ding your ceiling. Motor on it, variable speed, and then hooks up to this bag. It doesn't suck up very well into the bag, but it does suck up at least all the drywall dust so it doesn't fall too much on you. But then you got to very carefully turn it over, and instead of sucking into the bag, which it's just not powerful enough to do that, then it goes on the ground, these big piles. So anyway, it does a great job. I just wish it would suck into the bag a little bit better. So make a long story short, it does your ceiling and does it quick. Absolutely love it. Now, I am gonna have to get into the corners with my sanding pad over here, and that's where it gets pretty messy. But the good news is, after you sand it with this machine, then you get up there and you start finding some discrepancies like this here. And then what you do is, just like your screw holes around here, just go ahead and do a nice little light base to it. And then what I do is, if it's a lot of discrepancies, now I am going to be putting drywall primer and sealer on the drywall mud to seal it in. And so if you do have any pencil marks, etc. on your ceiling, then you are good to go. Now, I am kind of a perfectionist when it comes to ceilings, so I am going to come back now. We've already done 2 full skim coats and a 3rd look over, but of course there are still some discrepancies, so I'm going to go ahead and just get it done. This is actually a really good time of daylight to look at your ceiling to see any discrepancies, but remember, if you do see something after your primer and sealer, then again, use Dex Spackle Pink, turns to white, light sand that, and then paint when you are ready to go. So anyway, okay, after a few hours of sanding, it is looking absolutely fantastic. There is, I'm talking about, it's just my perfectionism-ism. There's a few discrepancies, but it looks really, really good compared to what it was. Now, there are a few little touch-ups I need to do. Again, I just pencil it, and then it will go away from there. And then once I do touch up, light sand, I cross it out, primer and paint will cover that pencil mark up. So I do that on all my notes. And then down here, I have one little discrepancy. Again, this is just, over the top, but is what it is. Just kind of the way I like it. But goodness gracious, that ceiling is looking absolutely fantastic. That's looking like my master bedroom ceiling. And oh my goodness, removing popcorn and smooth surface, no orange peel. Again, my house has no texture, no orange peel. It's just beautifully. Day 1042 of the mudroom. Feels like it, but not really. All right, so perfection has a limit. It looks really good. It's time to go. It's time to seal and primer these fresh drywall, and all the mudding line. So we're pretty much gonna be painting. It's gonna be a nice coat, not too thick, not too heavy, but just like you're normally painting. This is what I'm using, and whatever you do use, it has to be drywall, primer, and sealer. What does it say? Primer and sealer. This is by Kilts. Highly recommend. I've used this on the bedroom, bathroom so far. Now we're gonna go mudroom. Not very expensive. This is a big 2-gallon jug. I wanna say it was like in the mid to high 30s or something like that. Don't quote me on that one. Never know with prices these days. They go up, they go down, they go all around. This drywall is gonna get 1 coat of the primer and sealer, only 1 coat. Then we're gonna do a prime check. Basic summary about that, I'll show you when we get to that part, but basic summary is we're gonna look at any discrepancies in different times of light, afternoon sun coming in, etc. And then what we're gonna do in that situation is we're gonna fix any discrepancies with the pink spackle, which I showed you earlier, might have made this video or not, or last one in the series. We're gonna fix it with that because then we don't have to re-primer over that. So this is gonna seal the bare drywall and all the mudding. This is gonna seal it in real nicely. And then we're gonna do a prime check. We're gonna look at the ceiling. Anything you can't live with during prime check, we have to acknowledge it. Either A, we're gonna deal with it, B, we're gonna fix it.
SEC acknowledges BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF application. SEC acknowledges Fidelity, VanEck, WisdomTree, and Invesco Spot exchange releases its first spot Bitcoin ETF. Let me pause for just a moment. Do you remember when your financial advisor, your tax accountant, you walked in there and you brought a cryptocurrency to them and they
And this is when it starts to come together. Now I've rolled everything, but I still have to cut all my edges, meaning if the camera is picking up this angle here, I've come close, but I still got like an inch to cut with a brush. Now with painting, I have a full video about how to paint correctly, because what you don't want is you don't want to see any lines or anything like that. Now also with regards to bare drywall, it will suck up because the drywall's thirsty, the mud is thirsty. It's gonna suck up your 2-gallon jug. I think just for this size of mudroom, I think I definitely went over 1 gallon. Another little tip for you here, wear your eye protection, because as you can see here with those drops, it's in my hair, it's on my arms. I have washed my hands a few times though, but there's like one that would've got right in my eye. Wear eye protection because of the sealing, obviously. Now we're only gonna be doing 1 coat, but I took a break for a snack and coffee, and I just took a big Macy's bag, wrapped up my roller and paint. You also can use saran wrap, kitchen food saran wrap, wrap it up in between coats. This is what I mean about cutting right here. As we can see, here is bare mud and here is the paint. Now it is a very, very hot, dry day here in Colorado, and so it is drying super, super quickly. I already have found a few discrepancies that I just can't live with. A little hole thingamabobber right there. And I do need to fix something right up in here as well, so I'll use the pink spackle to do that so I don't have to reprime over it. So we'll go ahead and use the paintbrush. I'll just use like a 2-inch paintbrush. Cut all my areas here. I did take off my box, just so that if I ever do, for some oddball reason, get a smaller box, or I don't know why. Just for some oddball reason, I just wanted to paint underneath the lip of the edge. So it is what it is. All right, let's go ahead and put on another podcast. We'll go ahead and cut, let that fully dry. If you don't have really weather that's gonna dry out really fast, wait a couple hours after your primer and then do prime check. But I mean, this is already dry and it's been, 40 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut, wait a little bit longer, and then I'll go ahead and come back with my pink spackle and we'll get some video. Okay folks, now we're doing prime check. Now I waited till the next day. As I always tell you, I'm a slow worker, and I wanted to make sure I get nice little high noon. I started about maybe a half an hour ago or so. So I wanted the morning light coming in and hitting the ceiling, hitting the walls, and this is where you want to check your sanding of your mud as well. So you want to make sure that you have nice smooth corners. I'm going to be putting trim around this, so that's not super necessary. Down by your baseboards, you don't have to have that quite perfect, but let me show you what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and lighten this up a little bit here. So again, I'm using Dex Spackle, Dry Dex Spackling Time Indicator. Sorry, the light coming in the windows are messing with me here. Definitely don't buy too much. This stuff does dry out if it sits on a shelf. So don't buy a really big one if you don't need it. But let's go ahead and look at this here. It goes on pink, and then when it dries, so you can see a little bit of pink here, that's not ready for sanding. This is completely white. This is ready for sanding. That's completely white. That's ready for sanding, and that was just put on 20 minutes ago because it is so dry and hot pretty much everywhere in the country. And then I put another pencil mark right here. Now, this is on top of my drywall sealer and primer, and then I have all my spots in the ceiling. There's quite a few. Again, I just kind of went over the top, but wanted to do it right. And most of these imperfections, literally, you would never notice. No one would ever notice, but since I already got the spackling out, might as well. So I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go buy more Benjamin Moore paint. Unfortunately, Ace Hardware is the only place around here. The big box stores, for some reason, don't carry Benjamin Moore that I'm aware of. But if you haven't heard of my hack already, let's say you love Benjamin Moore colors. This paint right here was purchased at Lowe's. Then I took a color palette sample with the number of the Benjamin Moore paint color that I wanted. I told the girl at Lowe's, can you match this paint that I bought at Lowe's to Benjamin Moore Simply White? If you're interested in that, go ahead and pause that. And I think the number is right there for Simply White. Or just go to a store that sells Benjamin Moore paint, grab the paint sample, and then do it that way. But regarding this Benjamin Moore ceiling paint, I have to go to Ace Hardware, which unfortunately is about 25 minutes each direction, is the closest one. This is amazing ceiling paint. This is Benjamin Moore ceiling paint, waterborne ultra flat 50809 white color. Not cheap. Last time I was in the store buying this a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. It's $50 for 1 gallon. It's not cheap at all, but it's absolutely amazing. I've done the master bath ceiling. I've done the bedroom. Absolutely fantastic. And another little tip for you here with flat paint. Let's say, so let me show you a couple little snibbles here. So my sanding wasn't completely perfect in some areas of some patchwork. And even let's say after you do your dry deck spackling and then sand it out the ridges to make it look a little even better. Let's say there's still like a little bit of a ridge where you just didn't sand it down just enough. I had this issue with my bedroom wall back here, my accent wall, and I painted it with satin paint. And it really showed the imperfections on my accent wall. So I actually repainted it with flat paint, and flat paint hides a lot of imperfections. Flat paint is cheaper, but you don't want to scuff flat paint. Literally, if you threw a pillow at that wall, it would make a mark on it. So just understand that. So I'm trying to do the best I can for this mudroom because mudrooms typically get a lot more traffic. I did satin paint, which has a very small sheen to it, if the camera's picking that up right there. So the bathroom walls are satin. The ceiling is flat. I just showed you that. My bedroom is completely flat paint. So it's very kind of just dull flat. I still need to paint my trim here. But the mudroom, I want to do satin. So again, this is Vasplar, and it was just on clearance. Really good paint, but it was on clearance. I got it for a really good deal in the simply white color, but in satin. People do eggshell as well, but typically satin is really good for high traffic areas like hallways, mud rooms, garages, etc. It's really easy to clean. If you put a mark on it, you take a sponge. But flat paint, you take a sponge to flat paint and you'll actually start wiping off the paint. I did that accidentally in my last house. So just a little heads up for you there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for wall paint number 2. I had a few discrepancies. Again, I'm kind of a perfectionist and it is what it is. I probably would forget about it after a week or two. It's kind of in plain sight. If you don't have to speed through the job, definitely get it done right. So I took some dry spackle, put it up there, sanded it down, even after my first coat of paint. Not a problem at all because we're going to put another coat of paint over the top of that. I've picked up 2 more gallons of Benjamin Moore paint, which has gone up $10 per gallon. It's going to wax you $131 and change for 2 gallons. That's really expensive. Paint is not cheap these days. I was able to get a really killer clearance deal, and I think I paid like $25 or under for the top of the line, like $60 to $70 gallon jugs. Anyway, totally score on that one. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to be putting up a second coat right now of Simply White on the walls, satin. I'm going to cut first on the second go around. Then I'm going to roll. And then we're going to be done with the walls. Then I'm going to head up here to the ceiling and just give you a brief summary. I'm going to go ahead, because the light's coming in east to west, I'm going to go ahead and do a first coat on the ceiling going south to north. I'm going to end my second coat going east to west. And that is to hide any lines, which I don't anticipate having, especially because this paint is so good. We're going to be doing 2 coats of ceiling paint. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, absolutely stunning. Benjamin Moore Ultra Flat Ceiling Paint has done it again. And with my technique that I have mentioned several times in the video, watch my other how to paint your ceiling video like a professional. I'm not seeing any streaks. I'm not seeing any brush strokes in the corners, and it has turned out absolutely stunning. This was definitely a success. Drywall mudding over popcorn ceiling, and I plan to do the same thing once again to the living room as I head that direction. And when it starts to come together, ladies and gentlemen, it's looking absolutely fantastic. Okay, so after this fantastic outcome, walls are looking absolutely stunning. We're still going to be painting this So I'm going to go ahead and take that off the hinges. We'll take it out with the spray gun. I'll paint it the same color because it stands out. It's not bad. It just stands out. So I'll blend that in a little bit better with Simply White by Benjamin Moore as well. If that's your style, keep it. Not really my style. I'll put a newer handle on it as well. Maybe do a secondary drill gold handle, pull it out like this, or no, most likely vertical. Pull it out like that with a handle. So I'll drill another hole. We'll put a little 6-inch golden champagne handle on that. Walls are looking absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to putting on I'm just going to call that a utility room door. We're also going to paint the door to this right here. I do need to clean that off a little bit before I do paint it. Prepare that for paint. Living room is looking absolutely ruckus, so we do need to organize that a little bit as we round the corner once we're done with the beautiful mudroom. My puppy is right here, Berea. She's used to a mess. Bikes in the living room. TVs on drywall boxes, kind of the name of the game on a full remodel. But what is also the name of the game is this beautiful countryside, folks. This beautiful countryside. Just watching some vlogs, some property tours in Italy, and some of these folks are in their beautiful, old Italian beautiful properties, and I'm like, those are gorgeous, but you kind of have that out your backyard already, Chris. I ain't hating the game. Next up will be a little bit of, some people might find this very fun. I find it kind of mundane, like mudding, starting to do the trim work and kind of finishing up some of the trim work around the doors, etc. It is what it is. You have to do it. You have to make your place look nice. You can't just do this and move on. So next is trim work. We're going to pre-paint them because they're already primed, but we're going to take them out to this table. We're going to get the spray gun out. We'll paint them, and then we'll bring them in here. We'll finish nailing them in and then do some touch-ups with a little bit of spackle, little dab of paint on a paintbrush. I did the same thing for this trim work here. Real simple. Use some caulk afterwards, some trim caulking to dial it in just beautifully. But folks, I'm going to be honest with you here. It's been a long time since I've had pleasure of being in a clean home and luxury. And when I flip this direction here to this portion of the house, it feels good now. It feels good to walk into a bedroom, well, when the dog hasn't been on the bed, but to have a clean room, a clean bathroom. I'm still doing a little organizing, so sorry about that little mess. When it starts to come together, just remember the end goal. Remember what you're working towards. Have small wins in between the rooms. And so after the mudroom is completely finished, I'm going to go ahead and celebrate with a pizza party night and a nice movie. Sit down with Berea the puppy, and we're going to have ourselves a nice little celebratory action. But once I'm done with the kitchen, moving over to the living room entertainment center, once you walk in those doors and everything you look at is done, that's going to be a huge accomplishment. And then, of course, we're still going to work to the second half of the house. So, again, don't get overwhelmed. One day at a time, one task at a time. Have small wins. Don't get burned out. If you need to take a break, if you need to take a week break, take a week break. We'll get it done. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a little food break before we start painting, and let's get in the zone. All right, let's take a look at the trim pieces here. We're using an older Wagner spray gun. It's working, but I'm getting a little bit of clump shooting out, and I'm trying different consistencies. It works, but then I have my little brush to kind of mop up some big chunks that get on there. I'm thinking about investing into a newer Wagner, but let's go ahead and look at the trim pieces drying. Out here in this sort of summer day, dries super fast even though it is sunset right now. We're doing the furnace door. We're doing the breaker box door. We got my door trim. We got my floor trim. All that fun stuff ready to rip it down. I do have to do, I think, one more coat on these, one more coat on this, and one more coat on that. And that should wrap up painting for the mudroom. In regards to trim pieces, now yes, you have to clean your spray gun, you got to dilute the paint, but it does go super fast once you do dial it in, and then just go to the hose, clean it out. But it does take a lot quicker than trying to roll all the different sides, especially with something like this that has little ventilation grates in it. Forget about it. Spray gun is where it's at for sure. Okay, so this is the Wagner I'm using. Again, super old. I think this dates back to like 2003. My pops already had it, and again, that last spray was dialed in, but You just have to play around with the knob. It just has to suck up just right. You got to make sure it's clean. I mean, even a new one, you're going to have to make sure it's clean and all that fun stuff. But I just think that they've improved in 20 years, the technology. And I was thinking about potentially spraying interior. Not exactly sure. Rolling, I find it not very hard. I just put on some podcasts. And I cut just beautifully so I don't overspray satin on the ceiling. And then I gotta, roll that out because obviously if I'm going ultra flat on the ceiling, I can't spray. There's gonna be overspray. It could get on who knows what. So I think I'm gonna roll the interior, but I'm definitely gonna spray the exterior for sure. Obviously, plastic tarping, obviously protecting the windows, but what I'll do is we'll just take the time to do it, get it done correctly. So we have one more coat on the breaker box. I need to straight at it. Oh, I forgot to spray the screws as well that go into the breaker box so everything matches up. Stay tuned for what's going on. All right, let's show you what we're working on here with our secret utility door. Obviously, you can tell there's a door there because there's a little crack right there. But let's go ahead and show you what we got here. Now, we've painted it the same. This is our glued together piece right here. You can tell, but once my wooden slats go over it, like those right here on top of this, I am going to be making these thinner, just like my bathroom ones right here. We're going to space them apart, and what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way up to the ceiling with some smaller ones that fit perfectly. So instead of this being white and then just a door with slats, it's going to be like my bedroom where they go ceiling to floor. So it's going to go floor to the top of the door, and then a couple small pieces at the very top that line up perfectly so it just blends in a little bit better. That way I don't have to do any trim because this door is higher than this door, and then I won't have to have this weird little trim piece right there. So let's go ahead and also take a look at the door here. So we're going to put a nice, where'd it go, champagne gold handle on it. I've already done the measurement so it doesn't bang into the wall there. We have our outlet right here, which won't be affected by it. And then there's a 3-inch play around gap for my mudroom bench and shelving. So it's going to fit really, really nicely. Okay, so again, we're going to be tidying this up, probably throwing just some paint on the back or just leaving it utility, but we're going to tidy that up a little bit later down the road. We're going to be putting the vacuum, etc. in here. I put 4 soft closing hinges on the door here, and it's holding this large piece of plywood very, very nicely. So let's go ahead and take a look at that here. Oh, and then I am going to be putting edge banding on this side right here that is visible. So you slam it and it doesn't slam and it slowly sinks in. Absolutely stunning. Of course, I do need a handle on it because I have to like jimmy rig it and pull it back open. And I didn't want one of those push type of latches. I'm just going to put a real nice champagne handle on there, but I want to put the slats on first. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So I'm doing a cheaper option than this wall back here. This wall back here, I spent a lot of money on angular cube, like 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 inch square. I still had to rip them down on the table saw. We're going to go a little different. This is an example here. We're going to go a little bit more budget friendly. Whatever I have better wood of in the shop, that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to be using a 2x4 or a 2x6. And we're going to go ahead and size it up perfectly to what my bathroom is. We'll rip it down on the table saw. First, this direction, because I need it a little bit narrower than the thickness of a 2x4. After we slice it down the table saw this direction, then we're going to flip it like this, get our measurement, and we're literally going to be just sawing very small strips going this way. Obviously, you can get a lot more with a 2x6. But if I have better quality and grain in a 2x4, I'll be using a 2x4. Regardless, if I use a 2x4, I could probably get 6 pieces out of this. 2x6, probably 9. I'll show you. So again, this is what we're going for right here. A thinner piece. As we can see here, I'll get a precise measurement on my table saw, but this is the same size as the bathroom. I'll sand it down and then I'll put some. And then we're going to put some polyacrylic clear satin finish, and it's so much easier with the spray can. We'll put at least 2 coats on it after we do sand them, and it just puts a really nice shine on it. So I'm going to use this one as a reference model for my cutting on the table saw, and these are just some leftover pieces of the height, but anyway, for reference once again. So as you can see, they're going to be pretty thin, and they have a beautiful grain to them here, as we can see. Now, I believe this was the Aguilar or Agor. I'm totally botching that pronunciation of that wood name. So I'm hoping to get some good grain in whatever one I do choose.